Right now, somewhere on this planet, a person is rubbing white cream onto their nose to stop it from turning red. But for most of human history, there was no bottle, no label, and no pharmacy aisle to turn to. So here is the question almost nobody stops to ask. Did our ancient ancestors actually get sunburned at all? The answer is stranger and more complicated than you might expect, and it is not the same for every group of humans. Some ancient populations barely burned at all, while others were fighting the sun every single day of their lives. And the ways they fought back were so clever that modern scientists are only now fully understanding them. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how early humans protected their skin without a single tube of sunscreen. You will also learn why the color of human skin itself is one of the most direct records of sunlight ever written into our bodies. Most people assume ancient humans simply toughened up and stopped caring about sunburn altogether. That assumption is wrong, and it ignores thousands of years of careful, practical human behavior. Researchers who study skin biology have found that ultraviolet damage was a real and constant pressure on early human survival. Severe sunburn can impair the body's ability to sweat properly, which was dangerous for people who hunted and traveled long distances on foot. This means avoiding sunburn was not just about comfort, it was directly tied to staying alive. Later in this video, I will explain how one African mineral became one of the earliest natural sunscreens on Earth. I will also explain why some ancient European populations evolved skin that could barely protect itself from the sun at all. And I will walk you through what a real prehistoric afternoon in the blazing sun probably looked like for an early human family. Let's start with the biggest myth of all, the idea that dark skin and light skin appeared for no particular reason. In reality, skin color is one of the clearest examples of evolution responding directly to sunlight exposure over tens of thousands of years. Populations that lived near the equator, where ultraviolet radiation is strongest, developed high levels of a pigment called melanin. Melanin acts like a natural, built-in shield, absorbing and scattering harmful ultraviolet rays before they can damage deeper skin cells. This is why researchers describe deeply pigmented skin as one of humanity's oldest and most effective sunscreens. As early humans migrated out of Africa into regions with weaker sunlight, something remarkable began to happen to their skin. There's something even stranger almost nobody talks about, and it involves a vitamin hiding inside your own skin cells right now. Human skin needs a certain amount of ultraviolet light to produce vitamin D, which is essential for strong bones and a healthy immune system. In low sunlight regions like Northern Europe, very dark skin would have blocked too much light, risking a dangerous vitamin D deficiency. Because of this trade-off, populations in these colder, dimmer regions gradually evolved lighter skin over many thousands of years. Lighter skin allowed just enough ultraviolet light through to produce vitamin D, even during short, weak winters. But this same lighter skin came with a serious cost, because it offered far less natural protection against sunburn. Imagine a group of early humans moving north into Europe roughly 40,000 years ago, following herds of animals across open grassland. Their skin, still adapted for the strong sun of Africa, would have burned painfully under the milder but still present summer sun. Over dozens of generations, their descendants' skin slowly lightened, trading sunburn protection for the vitamin D they desperately needed. This is not speculation, but a pattern confirmed by genetic studies comparing ancient skeletal DNA with modern population data. So the very existence of pale skin today is, in a very real sense, a fossil record written directly onto human bodies. But biology alone did not solve the sunburn problem, because behavior mattered just as much as evolution. This brings us to one of the most fascinating discoveries in African archaeology, involving a soft, reddish stone called ochre. Ochre is a natural iron-rich mineral that ranges in color from yellow to deep red and was mined by early humans for tens of thousands of years. Archaeologists have found ochre processing tools in South African caves dating back more than 100,000 years. For a long time, researchers assumed ochre was used only for symbolic body painting or ancient artistic decoration. But here is what most people don't realize: ochre paste also functions as a physical barrier against ultraviolet radiation. Modern chemical analysis has shown that iron oxide, the main component of ochre, can absorb and reflect a meaningful portion of harmful UV rays. Even today, Some groups, such as the Himba people of Namibia, coat their skin daily in a reddish paste made from ochre and butterfat. Himba women apply this mixture, called ajais, partly for beauty and cultural identity, and partly for protection from the harsh desert sun. Researchers studying the Himba have noted that this practice likely reduces both sunburn and moisture loss in an extremely dry, high UV environment. This single, seemingly simple mixture may represent one of the oldest continuously used sun protection methods in human history. Imagine an early hunter-gatherer woman grinding red ochre stone between two rocks beside a fire at the edge of camp. She mixes the reddish powder with animal fat until it forms a smooth, protective paste ready to spread across her skin. Her children watch closely, learning a practical survival skill disguised as an everyday family ritual passed down without a single written word. This kind of knowledge traveled through oral tradition, meaning it was spoken and demonstrated generation after generation rather than written down. Oral tradition allowed practical survival knowledge, like sun protection, to persist for thousands of years even without any form of writing. Ochre was not the only tool early humans had, because clothing and shelter played an enormous role in avoiding sunburn as well. Many hunter-gatherer societies structured their entire daily schedule around avoiding the harshest hours of direct sunlight. Anthropological studies of groups like the San people of the Kalahari Desert show a clear pattern of resting during peak midday heat. Rather than pushing through the strongest sun of the day, many traditional societies rested in shaded areas between roughly 11 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. This behavior closely resembles the modern siesta tradition still practiced in parts of southern Europe and Latin America today. Researchers now believe the siesta may have originated, at least in part, as a practical adaptation to avoid dangerous midday sun exposure. There's something even stranger almost nobody talks about, and it involves how ancient humans in extremely sunny climates used clothing strategically. In many desert cultures, loose, layered fabric was worn not for warmth, but specifically to block direct ultraviolet exposure to the skin. The flowing robes historically worn across parts of North Africa and the Middle East reflect sunlight while still allowing airflow to cool the body. This design shows a level of environmental understanding that modern lightweight sun-protective clothing brands are only now beginning to replicate. Even hats and woven headwear appear across many ancient cultures, protecting the face, neck, and scalp from the most direct angle of the sun. Archaeologists have found evidence of woven grass and reed hats dating back thousands of years across multiple unrelated ancient cultures. This tells us that independent human groups, separated by oceans and continents, arrived at similar sun protection solutions on their own. Now let's talk about a group most people forget when discussing sunburn, the Neanderthals who lived across ancient Europe. Genetic evidence suggests many Neanderthals likely had pale skin, red or light hair, and features suited for low sunlight environments. This means Neanderthals may have been especially vulnerable to sunburn whenever they ventured into open, sun-exposed landscapes. Some researchers have proposed that Neanderthals relied heavily on shelter, cave systems, and forested areas partly to avoid excessive sun exposure. While this theory is still debated among scientists, it adds an intriguing layer to how different ancient human species handled the same environmental challenge. Meanwhile, in sun-drenched regions like ancient Egypt, protection from the sun became deeply woven into daily elite and working-class life alike. Ancient Egyptian texts and tomb paintings show people using shaded structures, linen garments, and cosmetic pastes that likely offered some UV protection. Egyptian cosmetics containing minerals similar to modern zinc compounds may have provided a mild physical barrier against the sun's rays. This shows that even one of history's most sun-exposed civilizations developed early, practical forms of what we would now call sun care. But here's the thing most documentaries leave out. Sunburn itself was likely a serious and sometimes fatal complication for ancient humans. Severe sunburn can lead to dehydration, fever, and dangerous fluid loss, especially in people already living on the edge of survival. For a hunter-gatherer without modern medicine, a severe untreated sunburn could realistically become a life-threatening medical emergency. This is likely why so many independent cultures developed such consistent, overlapping strategies for avoiding direct, prolonged sun exposure. From ochre in Africa to woven hats in Asia and flowing robes in the Middle East, the pattern repeats again and again. Different environments, different continents, and different centuries, yet strikingly similar human solutions to the exact same ultraviolet problem. Modern science is now circling back to validate many of these ancient instincts using precise laboratory testing and UV measurement tools. Dermatologists studying traditional plant oils, mineral pastes, and shade-seeking behaviors have found genuine, measurable UV blocking effects in several of them. This does not mean ancient humans fully understood the biology of ultraviolet radiation the way modern scientists do today. But it does mean their accumulated, practical wisdom often pointed them toward genuinely effective protective behavior. Let's bring this back to you and your own daily life for a moment. Every time you seek shade on a hot afternoon, you are unconsciously repeating a survival pattern tens of thousands of years old. Every time you put on a wide-brimmed hat, you are echoing a solution independently discovered by ancient cultures across the entire globe. And every time you apply sunscreen, you are continuing a direct, unbroken lineage that stretches all the way back to ground ochre and animal fat. So, did ancient humans get sunburned? The evidence strongly suggests that many of them absolutely did, especially as populations migrated into new climates. But rather than simply enduring the pain, they responded with mineral pigments, protective clothing, strategic scheduling, and generations of passed-down knowledge. Their skin itself slowly evolved in direct response to the sunlight of the regions they settled in over thousands of years. And their daily habits, from ochre paste to midday rest, reveal a level of environmental intelligence we rarely give ancient people credit for. The next time you feel the sting of a sunburn, remember that you are facing a challenge as old as the human species itself. Your ancestors faced this exact same sun, using the tools and knowledge available to them, long before modern science had any answers. That is the quiet, powerful truth hiding underneath something as ordinary as a sunburn. Ancient wisdom was never about magic or mystery. It was about careful observation passed down through countless generations of real human experience. If this kind of forgotten ancestral knowledge fascinates you, there is so much more of it still waiting to be uncovered. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into what our ancestors really knew about surviving this world. Leave a like if this video changed the way you think about something as simple as a sunny afternoon. And share this with someone who still thinks ancient humans had nothing to teach us about modern life.